This is a post-scriptum to my Alfa Romeo Giulia review. Everyone drives a diesel, but I bet many of you wonder if it's worth selling a kidney and getting Giulia Quadrifoglio. There is no simple yes or no answer, but this video should help you make up your mind. Let's go! I waited almost a year to film this review. First, there was a queue to the only press Quadrifoglio in Poland, then the car was crashed, and this is the second test car, which already has over 20,000 kilometers on the clock, and it still drives. So that's good news. Bad news is the whistling sound it makes for the first 15 minutes or so before everything heats up. The noise occurs above 50 kilometers per hour. I can't find the source. I called Alfa to hear. They're like that. So careful with your Quadrifoglio when it's cold.
Good news, at least for me, is the manual shifter. Kudos to the person on Alfa Romeo fleet who decided to spec this car with a manual shifter. The Germans in Poland do everything automatic. I get it. Automatic transmission is faster around the track, it's more usable in everyday situations. But for me, a sports car, it just has to be a manual. I feel more in control when I decide which gear the car should be in.
Bad news is how wooden the transmission is. I'm sure a lot of time and money went into developing a gearbox strong enough to cope with 510 horsepower and 600 Nm, but it doesn't feel at all mechanical, like Mustang shifters for example, forget Porsches. And this plastic gear knob from Fiat 500. I'm sure the goal is to persuade buyers to dish out a couple of €100 for a carbon knob, but come on. This car is like 10 times more expensive than a Fiat 500. Cheaper cars get better interior.
Good news is the engine. It's a 2.9-liter V6 producing 510 horsepower. In layman terms, it's a California T V8, but with 2 cylinders chopped off. It's eager to rev, and from 2,500 RPM, you've got 600 Newton meters pushing you back in these optional bucket seats. It takes just 3.9 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. Out of the box, Giulia Quadrifoglio is faster than BMW M3 with competition pack. And boy, oh boy, does it drive better than a BMW, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Bad news is reliability horror stories circling the internet. Consumer Reports seem to have their 2-liter turbo petrol Giulia in the shop quite often. Giulia Quadrifoglio completed piston heads comparison video in service mode, smelling tire smoke from C63 AMG and M3 tires. Apparently there is a Polish Quadrifoglio owner whose Giulia is yet to be fixed or replaced, as even a team of factory mechanics were unable to establish what exactly is wrong with his car.
I'd love to give it the beans because I haven't driven anything this good since Lexus ISF. 510 horsepower, super fast steering and newly developed chassis make the Alfa dance where the German competition stomps like a herd of bears. BMW, Audi, Mercedes, they're all very serious about being very serious players in the segment. You have to be seriously committed to feel any fun. Giulia is fun even in second gear, which, by the way, is enough to get you a ticket or lose your license. And that's bad news. Good news is the sound. Perhaps you can't hear everything inside, but outside, If you wonder why some car manufacturers use sound symposers to pump the sound inside the cabin or play artificial sounds, it's for the driver to actually hear the glorious noise the car makes.
Bad news are driving modes and safety systems. Alfa Romeo scored top marks in Euro NCAP crash tests, but even in the sporty Quadrifoglio, collision warning system is too sensitive and it cannot be turned off completely. Theoretically, it should be off in race mode, but step harder on the brakes and it comes back on along with traction control. Speaking of braking, I suggest you pay €7,500 for carbon ceramic brakes. Just bear in mind, these are electromechanical brakes. Very effective, but with very little feel.
On the plus side, suspension is ace. It copes surprisingly well with rougher surface. Here I also get a whiff of Ferrari input. I couldn't believe how well California coped with bumpy roads, partly thanks to a soft suspension mode which was independent of the driving mode. Giulia also has a soft suspension button here on the drive mode selector.
Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio has all the faults I mentioned in the diesel Giulia review. The prices of the sporty Alfa start at €73,000. This car with options goes up to 89 grand, about 10,000 cheaper than a similarly spec'd BMW M3 with competition package.
So, what do you think? Are you convinced by Giulia Quadrifoglio, or you'd rather play it safe? Let me know in the comment section below. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you really like what I do, help me on Patreon or PayPal. Links in the description below. New episodes every Friday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.